Thanks for joining us today. My name is Kirk Rooney with CBTS. Today we're here to discuss and talk to you about CBTS Network as a Service powered by Juniper Mist with artificial intelligence. I'm joined today with Ryan from Juniper and Jim from Juniper as well too. Gentlemen, maybe you take a second and introduce yourselves.
Yeah, thanks for having us. My name is Ryan Prendergast. I am the regional sales manager for our campus and branch here at Juniper Mist in what we call the Ohio Valley. So it is 5 states here in the Midwest, and happy to join you guys.
Happy to have you too. Thank you, Ryan. And Jim?
I'm Jim Vadja, senior sales engineer with Juniper Mist, paired up with Ryan here in the Ohio Valley, and it's great to be here.
Yeah, and we're very happy to have you. Thank you very much for making the time come to the CBTS studio today. We're very much looking forward to this conversation. So our purpose of this conversation today, the agenda is going to focus around network as a service, explaining network as a service, and then beyond that, actually giving an overview of Juniper Mist, technology with some amazing AI operations. So I think a good starting point would be for us to touch on the CBTS network as a service, explain exactly what that technology is, and after we get done with that, we'll go and focus on the artificial intelligence point with Juniper. So the first thing that we want to point out about network as a service is the easy thing to point out. It's as a service. So with any network as a service solution, it gives customers the ability to hold on to that capital and just be able to find themselves in a position to have a fixed monthly expense. So as opposed to purchasing those switches for a couple $1,000s, they maybe just spend a monthly expenditure of about, $75, $85 a month, and that could work out to be a lot more beneficial from an operational budget for them. However, though, there's a lot of services and features that you get when you go to a network as a service solution with CBTS. The first one would be lifecycle management. So the idea is that when we talk to our customers that have switches and access points, all across their environment, and they have hundreds of switches, 1,000 access point, and everything from a hardware perspective of refreshing of the hardware, licensing expiring all at different times. They're wanting to get out of the business of actually managing all that hardware and license. So one aspect of network as a service is all lifecycle management of hardware refreshes, licensing. That all actually is something that CBTS includes as part of their service. Another portion to this is the actual day 2 support. So when you incorporate CBTS network as a service, as a solution, we essentially become an extension of your help desk, so your NOC. So anything that you need to have done from basic, routine, complex types of service requests inside of your network environment can be handled by CBTS, all inclusive as part of our service, with SLAs, so dedicated times that we have set up so that we can perform those tasks for you. And then one of the great things that we do at CBTS is that this is a co-managed solution. So we talk to a lot of customers and they want to be able to continue to handle those basic routine kind of functions for day-to-day work inside their environment. So the idea is that the customer continues to have full capabilities of being able to manage their network, but CBTS is really an extension. Our NOC is an extension of your team. So we're there for you for support for service requests and for troubleshooting and technical support as well too. And those are some of the big benefits and features when you go to network as a service. A fixed model for consumption that brings CBTS into the fold for service requests, troubleshooting, and therefore you for technical support. And it'll allow you and your staff to really focus on the core of what your business is and let CBTS take off the load of the network management day to day. So with that being said, that's kind of CBTS's overview from network as a service. Now, one thing I wanted to ask you, Ryan, is that in the world of Juniper, you're out there talking to a lot of customers. Are you hearing anything from your customers about network as a service?
Absolutely. And that was a great overview. Like talking about that lifecycle management, that's always a challenge for our customers, staying on the latest and greatest, finding that capital expenditure to make that investment back into the business. We're seeing it across industries today, and it's just been a big shift in how organizations are really using their resources and where they want their time spent, right? You want the best user experience possible on the network because that does power their business. But at the same time, there are other digitizations that happen within a business that will really affect that bottom line, the revenue driving, the expense cutting that is needed, right? If it's as part of like a third-party application or something along those lines. But we're seeing a huge trend and shift towards that. And I mean, great overview. It was fantastic. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah, network as a service has been a pretty hot topic for us since 2016 when we originally started to launch this type of solution. Since then, we've been deployed in over 60 countries with over 5,000 locations and hundreds of customers. So it has very much turned out to be a strategic solution where we have a whole team built around just delivering these network as a service solutions. And it's been fantastic so far. So with that being said, the network as a service solution overview, I feel like is complete, and we might bring up some other little nuances throughout the conversation, but I think now's a good time for us to kind of turn our attention over to artificial intelligence. That's a very big part of the conversation we wanted to get out there today. It's turned into something where it's not necessarily just because the network is up that the network is good. If you would, there's so much today where we need to take into consideration end user experience, operations experience when it comes to engaging with the technology. So I wondered, Ryan, if you could maybe take a little bit of time and talk to us about how you feel like artificial intelligence comes into play with Juniper Mist and enhancing the end user experience.
Yeah, I mean, so the end user experience is everything for us, right? We're a experience first networking company, and that's kind of the tagline that we go with. And what we mean by that is we need to understand if everyone's having a good experience on the network at all times. And we're taking this massive paradigm shift that's in the market today, and we've re-architected how networks have been done in the past and moved it into AI at the foundation, built on a microservices agile cloud, to understand everyone's experience. Are they having a good experience or are they not? I mean, I always go back to, I've been in tech calls in my career where it's like a CEO had a bad Zoom call or a bad Teams call or a bad WebEx call, and they're calling up IT and yelling at them like, what happened exactly? Well, it takes a lot of layers of troubleshooting that and understanding that. But if we can have AI do that for us and understand exactly what's happening in the network at all times, it takes that off the plate of IT, and we can point to it and fix it before it even happens, right? And it's this going from a reactive approach to a proactive approach by applying AI. Yeah.
So I like that, a proactive approach. Because if you think about it, when somebody has an issue, on the network or in your environment, there's no guarantee that person's going to actually reach out to you and let you know that they have an issue. No. So, perception is reality. And if I'm having issues on the network, but I'm not telling you about it, I still perceive that we have issues. And, I might tell my manager about the issue, but I'm not always calling IT, right? So typically, if you get one phone call that comes in, there's probably 10, 15, 20 people that are having that issue, but you have no idea that issue is out there. And so therefore, the perception that spreads around the office
is don't trust it. Don't trust the network.
Don't trust the network. We're having a bad experience, right?
Yeah, it's funny you should say that. We have a CIO who is part of a large technology company that is Juniper Mist Stack. And that was his belief. He goes, for every ticket that we get, and we're getting about 100 per month on the network side, we believe there's 10 more people behind that, right? That are suffering in silence. And it's kind of giving that voice to the voiceless out there, right? And really solving those issues proactively. We are trying to solve those issues before they actually hit, and that experience with them. I know personally, I've done it where I've jumped on a hotspot because I can't get connectivity to the network, right? And I've done that on the road when I was in a Starbucks, and it's like I jump into my car and jump on the Zoom call via my hotspot, and that's me finding a workaround to be a part of the network and the call and to do my job. So it's a real problem out there in the world, but we also give benefit to network operations, right? So that's where the AI lives. That's going to make their lives easier. They're going to be able to sleep at night. I know Jim can talk about it specifically because his past and being an engineer and working on these large complex networks. But I think maybe talk a little bit about the AI that we experience with AI operations.
Yeah, I mean, and it's been a game changer. So I have a history as a network engineer for over a decade before coming to Juniper, and I'm a CWNE, do a lot with wireless, dig into the protocols, really nerd out on all that stuff. But there's always been just these fundamental problems that no level of expertise, can let me get over. And that is gaps in visibility, right? Because I don't have the data to tell you what happened when a problem occurred, or I don't have the right data, or I don't have enough data. So, it turns into making educated guesses in the best case, or trying to recreate problems. Maybe you can recreate it, maybe you can't. But it's always highly reactive, and it's always being the last to know rather than the first to know about an issue, right? AI and what we're doing with Mist completely changes that game. It's huge, right? First of all, we're measuring every client every minute. So there is no issue that goes unobserved by the Mist platform. But secondly, that's an enormous amount of data, right? It's too much for me to make sense of on my own. Mm-hmm. So that's where AI comes into play in filtering out those really interesting insights and nuggets, those really valuable pieces of information that tell you what the real problems are that have happened and who's been affected, and not blast you with a fire hose of alerts, but really just focus and specifically give you the information you need to do your job better. And that can flip what we do on its head. So again, now we're proactive rather than being reactive. We're the first to know when things go wrong.
And Jim hits on an interesting point there, right? It is a paradigm shift within networking. We are now understanding the user experience first, and you're not drilling down from the top down into what the user has experienced. You're starting from the user and understanding what their experience was. And we're using AI. There's a bunch of different types of AI out there in the world today. There's 4 specific categories that they kind of all fall into, and that our journey at Juniper Mist didn't just start 2 years ago when ChatGPT came out, and everyone goes, I got AI, generative AI. There we are. We do have generative built into our tool set. I will say that, but there is supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforcement learning all built into it. We formed the company Mist in 2014, came out of stealth in 2016, and been collecting data ever since. Mm-hmm. So in order to create good AI, you need good data and understanding these questions that we want to answer within the network to make that network operations run as smoothly as possible. But ultimately, the goal is that customer experience, that client experience. Can they have the best experience possible? I mean, we've gone into countless customers now, and they continue to say it's like turning on the lights within their network. I mean, we have public references that are out there that are in the retail space, for instance, and certain parts of the business will come to them and say, "What'd you do to my application? It's running better." How's that possible? And that's just switching out the network. It's something that they're used to for this legacy architecture that's been built out there in the past. So it's really absolutely game changing. There's a bunch of paradigm shifts that are happening, and it's something that is not out there in the marketplace today besides with Juniper Mist.
So one of the things that I thought was really good that I heard you talking about there when you said that it allows you to be more proactive in the environment, and you made reference to the idea of being on troubleshooting calls before where you would say, can you replicate that for me, right? Mm-hmm. And what I think you're saying is we need to get some packet capture going on here. I have nothing to analyze that tells me that there's an issue. So how does Juniper actually handle that from a proactive perspective of being able to understand when there are issues inside the network? You said that they, every minute are paying attention to the health of, basically the end user experience. What happens? What makes it so that you don't actually need to participate in like packet captures for troubleshooting? Yeah.
So we've developed specialized hardware with our Juniper Mist access points, all of them, and our Juniper EX switches that are looking for issues. And when issues occur, they automatically capture the packets related to that problem. So we call that dynamic packet capture.
That's impressive.
Yeah. And not only that, it gets uploaded to the cloud automatically. So you don't have to go out to that device to get the PCAP. It's waiting for you in the Mist dashboard, which is awesome.
And then that's correlated with all the other data that we have in the network based on the baselines that are out there on a healthy network and understood and put into real actionable items. So it's not just we're providing insight and observability. I always like that term, but there was nothing to do after it. Mm-hmm. Here, there's something to do after it. There's some, maybe if the AI couldn't take care of it itself, maybe we need some human interaction to be there. And so correcting those issues out there, I've been on tech calls too in my career, a ton of them. I can't help. I'm there for moral support. But I feel the pain of my customers on a regular basis, and I live through it. And it's like, okay, there's got to be a better way. Well, there is now. Like, there definitely is.
And one thing that I will speak to, I've been on many customer meetings or calls before where I mentioned the concept of Juniper Mist, right? With CBTS, network as a service, and different things are intriguing them about the network as a service offering. And they're intrigued by the Juniper Mist offering as well, too. And typically what that does is it leads to a follow-up conversation with the customer where we actually get to demonstrate the technology, right? Because that's one great thing about this is that we have the ability to kind of demonstrate and show you what your experience is going to be like. Yeah. That your help desk, your support team, CBTS can deliver to your end users. So these great tools. And normally as we go through this and we show things to the customers, such as like actionable items delivered by Juniper Mist, their virtual network assistant tool, which is known as Marvis. I'm guessing a play off of Iron Man's Jarvis.
That's correct.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a pretty good play. I like it. Sounds good. And then the thing about it is they give you action items. We can show dynamic packet capture inside of it, right? So normally customers at that point say, this is a game changer. I've never seen anything like this. I've seen all the other enterprise tools on the market and nobody can deliver something like this. So I think that one of the things that we'd like to do today, and Jim, I believe that you're prepared to be able to do this overview, is just kind of go through some of those items that are very unique to Juniper Mist that I think that customers would love to see when it comes to artificial intelligence inside their network.
Yeah, I'd love to. And we can talk about it, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. Yeah. So we love to demo and just put this out there for everybody to see as much as possible.
And Kirk, you talked about it too, the demo portion of it, or actually testing out the equipment in a site. Like that's the next step after this demo that Jim's going to do. For a lot of our organizations that we go to, at POC, we say, give us your problem area. Yeah. Let us shine the light on the power of AI and what it can do for your organization.
Don't put it in the lab.
Nope.
Yeah. Give us your worst store, your worst office, wherever people are screaming the loudest. Put it there.
This is a great point. We actually do have a customer. They're a college right now. They were looking at going one direction for deploying certain technology I will not mention inside of their core. Yep. We were able to get in front of them, present the idea of Juniper Mist. And at that point, they said, we just deployed wireless about 1.5 years ago. We've had nothing but issues, it seems like. We would love to postpone our budget from just core to just putting in all new wireless access and core Juniper Mist.
Yeah.
And, one of the things that we did to get to that point was we said to them, what is the worst building on your campus? What we did was we moved forward. We deployed Juniper Mist wireless and LAN. Then we had to, work it out so that we could pair with their current core that's in place today. But the idea was that we were able to prove that if you deploy Juniper Mist inside of your worst environment, you're going to have good experiences. And that worst environment very well could become your best environment. And the proof is in the pudding. And that's something that, for any customer that would be interested, we'd love to have those conversations with you. Talk about your worst environment, and then CBTS can come out and deploy with Juniper Mist the same kind of solution that we just discussed. Juniper Mist artificial intelligence to really show how it can benefit you.
Well, I think you guys are just like us. We're looking to build lifelong customers.
Absolutely.
That's it. And how you do that is during that POC demonstration and going hand in hand and working with them and showing them what it could be like, what life could be like. Can that network engineer actually take a vacation? I mean, that's powerful.
Yeah.
Right. So let's jump into Jim over here and let's go a little bit into seeing it, because once you see it, you can't unsee it.
So this is our Mist dashboard. And this main page right here is showing us the service level expectations, or SLEs, that we measure across the full stack of the network. So we're measuring these in wireless and on wired LAN switching with Juniper switches as well. And this is taking that mountain of data. Again, every connected client, every minute gets measured. And each time we do a measurement, we collect over 150 data points from those devices. So huge volume of data. This is one of the ways we distill that down into the areas of performance and connectivity that really make a difference for end user experience. So this doesn't look like other systems. I don't see, uptime and, interface errors and things like that. These things are focused on what matters to end users. All that other data is there and it comes into play here. But, this has a focus on end users rather than on the infrastructure itself. So looking at these SLEs, it's pretty easy to see in this demo environment, capacity is not great. We're only 74% there, right? And without a single click anywhere else, I can just look over here on the right side and see what the root cause of that problem with wireless capacity is. It's Wi-Fi interference. Ryan turned on his hotspot, or somebody, brought in a rogue AP, or the neighbors are turning on APs and they're getting too busy, and that's causing interference. And not just, is it causing interference, but, what are the affected users, right? Who's been connected to the network and the affected APs while this has happened? I can see every single one because nothing gets missed by the Mist platform.
Every single one, not top 20, not top 10, every single one that's been affected by this. That's different, right? CEO, it happens once to them, it will be on there, it will be at the bottom. You can see every single user. And one more thing to kind of point out, Jim said it, and it was nonchalant, but it was an aha moment for me because I work through these where I'm looking for root cause analysis for my customers. It's automatically providing that for you.
Yeah.
Right there. What happened with the network? Oh, it's there. We know what's affecting our network.
We know where it's affecting the network, right? What APs have dealt with this interference issue the most. But we can drill into other issues too. So we did see some issues with DHCP and authorization. What's going on with DHCP? Well, the biggest problem is discover unresponsive. So clients are starting the DORA process and that's about it. And I can see every device that's been affected by that. And I can even drill into that device. We talked about dynamic packet capture, so I just like to show it here. I can see every important event that affected this device. See all these DHCP timeouts. And every time there's a paperclip there, that means there's a dynamic packet capture there waiting for me if I need it.
Yeah, we had that in a warehouse, right? They were having a problem with a robot, and they were able to deploy Mist in it, and it did a dynamic packet capture on a fast roam on a robot. They did brought the packet capture down, handed it over to the manufacturer, and they said, "How did you get this? How did you get a dynamic packet capture on a fast roam? That's incredible."
Yeah. So one of the things that I have heard from some other, vendors that are out on the market that I've heard them tout themselves as, we have AI, is, we can tell you what's wrong, but when you, talk to them and you start to have conversations, what they're really saying is, I can tell you if something is specifically wrong with my device. they're not really saying, I can tell you when there's something wrong with a protocol that is running on your network.
Yeah.
Or what is wrong specifically with this device with dynamic packet capture. They very much are just about their own personal health and not necessarily about the personal health of all protocols and devices on the network, which is a big difference.
Yeah. One of our founders, Bob Friday, he's our chief AI officer now. But he likes to say, good wine starts with good grapes, right? And the same is true for AI. Good AI starts with good data. You have to have this level of data about everything that's going on in the network for the AI to really provide valuable insights, right? Otherwise, you've got the same blind spots you've always had, right? Although, as much as I like to spend all day in Wireshark, our customers don't have to do that, right? Because we've already done root cause analysis through the SLEs, and we have our Marvis virtual network assistant that makes finding these things, these insights, even easier.
This is an exciting tool.
So this goes a little bit reactive over to that proactive approach that we were talking about. How do you get proactive? How do you know what you need to work on as a network organization when you get in the morning, right?
So Marvis is great. Marvis has a couple different ways to interact with it. It has a conversational interface, right? So I can chat with it. I can ask it documentation questions. I can ask it to troubleshoot sites and users and devices. I can even say, hey, I don't even know what I want to find. I just want to find a problem. So I can say, show me unhappy users. And Marvis will go out and find the clients that have had the worst experience on the network proactively for me. And what our customers find is in some cases, these users will call the help desk and say, hey, something's wrong. I can't connect to the Wi-Fi or whatever. Hey, Marvis, troubleshoot client, Everest 4, because that's who called and that's their device, right? And while they're on the call, they can say, oh, we know what's going on. You've got the wrong password. That's the problem. I can tell you're using the wrong password. This is the SSID you're connecting to. And, here's the rest of how we're going to go about remediating that, right?
You do it from your kid's baseball game, right? And troubleshoot that. So now it's giving you the ability to have insight like you've never had before.
Yeah. So many organizations, when they look at, what's a success when somebody calls in, first call resolution is big.
It's huge.
So being able to have the tools to be able to go towards first call resolution that you don't even have to escalate to a tier 2 is a very big deal. So that's that's an impressive tool and very fast and easy to use.
So I want to show you one more thing about Marvis that this is probably my favorite feature, and I wish I had this when I was back in network ops. This is called Marvis Actions. So this is where, again, we've boiled the ocean of data and we've looked for those insights that are really important, and those problems that Mist can't go ahead and self-heal through adjusting the wireless network, which is what we'll try to do first, right? Marvis Actions aren't a big stream of alerts and alarms that turn into a fire hose that eventually get ignored. These are very targeted and AI validated things. You really want to see 0 Marvis actions in your network.
49's a lot, but this is a network we mess with a lot to show the power of it, right? And show the different features. So
yeah.
You need a lot of actions to demonstrate.
You'll need a lot of coffee, I think, on that. If you have 49 and you wake up. So.
It is a great way to start the day, though. Look and see if there's any Marvis actions and go out and get these things addressed, right, before it's caused pain and suffering for the rest of the day for end users. Earlier in the SLEs, we saw some DHCP failures. Marvis Actions captures that and packages it up in a really intelligent way. So, for example, here, VLAN 120, 87 clients are failing DHCP. In a normal system, you'd get 87 alerts times every time that client tried to go through DHCP and failed, right? So this is one Marvis action telling you these 87 clients are failing and already correlating it to the common factor, which is the VLAN they're connected to. Mm-hmm. So when I start troubleshooting this, I already know I need to go look at VLAN 120. Is the subnet too small? Is there scope exhaustion? Mm-hmm. Is the DHCP server that's serving that, is that having an issue? Actually, Marvis can tell me that because it can tell me if a DHCP server is the issue too. But this is, that first level of troubleshooting that I don't have to do anymore. Mm-hmm. So my mean time to resolution has come way down, which is a huge benefit from this. And this, covers all the way down to layer 1, where we can find bad cables out there, all the way up to wireless and switching.
I mean,
for
you've
CBTS
seen
customers
deployment of new networks out there, and we've seen Marvis say, "Hey, there's this many bad cables," and they're like, "There's no way. This is a brand new network, right?" And they go and test it out, and Marvis is never wrong. And what I mean by that, I don't mean it's going to solve every issue on your network ever created, but when it detects an issue, it is never wrong. It is validated, mm-hmm. and we've had network engineers go back out there, test the cables, and they're like, "Yep, it was right." Like that is remarkable to see. It's mm-hmm. AI validated, actionable insights.
Yeah.
AP health check.
Sure.
Real quick, and then we'll wrap.
Yep. Awesome feature here. So number of Marvis actions for APs and switches. And these features, by the way, these are the kind of things that roll out on a monthly basis, mm-hmm. and you get just for being a Juniper Mist customer. A lot of this has come out in the last year, really, without any requirement to upgrade code or so on and so forth. But if you look at the health check failed action for our APs, we really put our money where our mouth is when it comes to AI. Our AI has gone out and discovered there's an access point out in this network that is in a degraded state. We've tried to fix it. Actually, Mist will try to automatically revive APs that look like there's issues with, but that didn't work, right? So we'll flag a Marvis action for that health check failure, show you which AP it is, and you can come right into our dashboard and RMA it. You just have to put in a shipping address so we know where to send it.
That's impressive for anybody that's gone through the RMA process before, having to validate and work mm-hmm. with the vendor just so that you can get the RMA done, knows that it can be tedious sometimes, especially depending on who your vendor is. So the idea is that the artificial intelligence of Marvis does all the validating for you. Mm-hmm. And you do not even have to speak to somebody at Juniper and ask them to approve your RMA. Mm-hmm. It's pre-approved essentially by failing its health check. Everybody likes to eliminate the headache of mm-hmm. being on a telephone conversation with somebody mm-hmm. for 30, 40 minutes, mm-hmm. and we all get frustrated. So this definitely alleviates a level of frustrating for those that have lived through that experience. So that's a fantastic tool, and I'm very happy that you guys brought that one up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so Jim kind of touched on this briefly, but I'll say one quick thing about it. So the features and functions that are coming out on a regular basis, that's another paradigm shift that we've brought to the marketplace, which is this microservices cloud. It's the ability for us to do bug fixes on every other week basis or release features. So last year alone, we released 15 brand new features, 0 network downtime for our clients. Mm-hmm. They go to bed one day, they wake up the next morning, they have a new feature within Marvis and Mist that they can take advantage of. And it's all like voted on by our customers on what's important to them. And our PLM and TAC organization and data scientists are always working together on a weekly basis to understand what the issues and what the questions that we need answering. Mm-hmm. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah. So the architecture of microservices is one that I feel like puts Juniper Mist in a new category. It seems that to me, from what I heard, that was basically what happened when some leadership left from Cisco Meraki. went over to Juniper Mist, and they said, I'm going to start this, on a clean slate. What would I do different? And one of the big things they said that they would do different was move over to more of a microservices architecture.
Yeah, I mean, they left Cisco to start Mist and really said, I'm not building another controller-based architecture, right? The idea was initially, I think, software-based, but quickly realized we need purposely built hardware in order to get the amount of telemetry fed into our AI engine. But if we're going to build an AI engine, it's got to be on a microservices cloud. It's the amount of data and telemetry that we are consuming and correlating needs to be in an agile cloud. And so that's a huge shift in the marketplace. You're taking it from a hardware lifecycle, we talked about life cycles earlier, to a software lifecycle. Now you're taking advantage of a software lifecycle. And I think that goes hand in hand with the solution that you guys have, which is the NaaS product. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah. And one of the great things about that is now you can actually take the customer's input and put it into motion much faster.
Absolutely.
So instead of hearing the voice of your customer and saying, we'll have to work that into the next major, revision or release.
Once a year.
And we'll get that out next year. It's something that could potentially hit the market to your customers within a matter of
Absolutely. And in our tool set, you can see the things, vote on them. You can see PLM talking about it. I mean, our executive vice president Sadir will comment on them. Like, yep, this has been started. This is something we're working on. I mean, it's exciting. You can actually see how you're changing everyone else's environment just by all that data that we're getting collectively, globally.
No, fantastic. Well, I want to say thank you to both Jim and Ryan for your time here today. Here at CBTS, we're obviously very big fans of the Juniper Mist solution. It does power our network as a service solutions that are on the market. If you are interested in learning more from CBTS, you can go to our website at cbts.com. We'd be happy to schedule time so that we can do a demonstration with you, or even go through the process, of even giving us your worst and deploying Juniper Mist into your environment so that you can see how it can have a positive impact for both your users as well as your operations team. Once again, thank you very much for your time today.